Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassandra. I'm mother of 3 young kids, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a children's Bible devotional. This devotional is called Choose Kindness, 3-minute devotionals for kids by Joanne Simmons. All right, let's jump into this book. First thing, I love the cover. That cute little sunshine. I love the title, Choose Kindness. The size of the book is perfect for fitting right into a book bag. Each of the devotionals is written into 3 different sections. So each section is to take 1 minute long. So first minute is a Bible verse, and it's written right in the book, so you read directly from the book. The second section is a devotional, and it's written like a prayer. So it says like, Dear God, and the child or you would read this prayer, and that's the sort of the meat, the main devotional part of the book. And the last section for minute number 3 is questions and reflections, and sort of to think back on what they just read with the Bible verse as well as the devotional prayer. There is 180 lessons in this little book. So if for a typical school year that's 180 days long, this would be perfect to do 1 each morning before school. So if you have a school-age child that's going to be starting school in the fall time, this would be a perfect book to give to them. On Amazon, this book is listed to be for children 8 years and up. You know, here at my house, I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old. Now, when I did read this book, I did agree that definitely 8, I don't know, I may even say 10 years old and up, maybe up to maybe around 16 years old would be good for this book. And I'll get into that why in a little bit later when we get into the meat of the devotional. But I would say 10 years to 15 years old would be a great fit for this book. So that first part of the devotional is reading the Bible verse. Now the Bible verses are written right in the book. They are written in the New Life Version translation. And when I read through it, I felt that that translation was perfectly fine for a child anywhere between that 10 to 15-year-old age. And the verses were pretty short in the beginning, very easy for them to get through. As some of the days progressed, there were some days that maybe there were 2 verses that they read instead of just 1. But really for 1 minute to read a verse before school in the morning, I think any child could get through that verse in 1 minute. And they were great verses, really connected to kindness, really the heart of God. Really liked the verses that they picked. So very good first minute of the devotional. All right, let's take a look at the second section of each of the devotionals. Now, this is sort of like the meat or the core of what the devotional is about. And it's written as in a prayer. So that might be a little different for you, because I know for me it was. I'm not used to devotional books that are written as a prayer. And so it's almost like a statement or a declaration that you're making. And the example I have was like, Dear God, I know that you're always there for me, and obviously the devotional would continue from there. So it's just written a little differently. It took me probably the first maybe 2 or 3 devotionals before I felt like I was flowing with how the author was writing. So if you start and it just feels a little strange at first, just push through those first couple of days, and then you're just gonna have the feel of how the author is writing it as in a prayer, as in a declaration. I mentioned in the beginning that I would recommend this more for an ages 10 and up. And the reason is because of some of the vocabulary and the topics used in the book. The author writes some things like using the term, say, social media, politics, government. And those are obviously in context of maybe it's praying for somebody that's in government or in politics, or maybe it's making sure that we are kind on social media. But I'm not quite sure if an 8-year-old would really fully understand what maybe politics means or government. And it goes into other things about even racism. It says even maybe about the Big Bang, or it even talks about maybe the death of a family member, or a friend's family member might have had a death in the family. So maybe some topics that I'm not quite sure if an 8-year-old would be ready for. So I would say probably 10 and up. Now I would probably actually stop at maybe around like 15 or 16 though, because in some of the devotionals it does talk about like, oh, maybe you wish you could have a job and you don't have a job yet. Or it says still like, oh, you like to thank God for our parks that you can still swing and play. So you're still talking about a child who, doesn't have a job yet, but still likes to maybe run around and play and swing on swings. So just sort of thinking about what that age of that child would be, I would definitely put it between the 10 to 15 or 10 to 16 years old of age. The other thing to bring up is that the topics also brought into the book are things that you would see more in a public school or private school setting. They talk about having lockers or kids at school. Maybe even they talk about bullies or cliques. So a child that might be homeschooled or cyber schooled might not get as much out as somebody who's in a public or private school setting. But even that homeschool or cyber school child, I think they still could get some great ideas and great verses and information in this book about being kind to other people. But I do have to say it is more set up for a child who is in a public school setting. All right, that final section, that third minute of the devotional, is the question and reflection time. Now, I thought about it when I was reading it. Could a child read through this completely on their own? I do think so, but when I came to the questions, I felt like a lot of the questions, it would be nice to have a parent or a mentor with them reading through that question, or maybe that they're reflecting on it together. Maybe one of the questions is like, what does it mean to call on God in truth? Or, how would be a time when you felt your faith being weak? I think those are almost like a little grown-up questions, to be honest, and I think that could be something that maybe a younger child might have trouble actually thinking, wait, when was a time that my faith was weak? What would that mean? I think it would be nice to have a parent to be able to sit with them, and maybe that parent shares about a situation they've experienced, and the child could come back and maybe understand more what that question or reflection time is. So I would say that I think most of the questions a young child could read on their own, might be able to reflect or understand on it, but I would recommend for some of the questions, if a parent would be able to sit with them and do these devotionals, that question and reflection time I think would be more valuable if a parent or mentor was with them reading through those questions. I truly enjoyed reading through the Choose Kindness book. I do believe if you have a child between that 10 to 15 or 10 to 16-year-old age, they are just going to have such a different heart after reading through this book. So many times there would be topics that I would come across and I just wish every kid would understand that or really see that in our world. If they could just show that kindness to an elderly person or that neighbor, or just being aware of their words and what they mean on social media or with other friends in school, and they're just conscious of what they're saying. I think that our world could be such a kinder place. So I would definitely pick up this book for that age child, and I know that they're going to really enjoy it. If you have any questions about this book, go leave those questions below. If you have any thoughts, leave those there too. And don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe before you leave, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.